morning, everybody, and happy Thursday. Or maybe it's a grumpy Thursday. Some people around here are feeling a little grumpy. Guilty.
Yeah, guilty.
Yeah. So, but you know what? That's okay. Not everything.
I just have to smell the dirt.
Yeah, exactly. Wake up and smell the dirt.
Oh wait, the soil.
Exactly.
Oh wait, the potting mix.
Wake up and smell something.
Yeah, wake up and smell something.
Or go for ice cream.
Oh yeah, I like that better.
Yeah. So, but no, it's always a good Thursday when we get to be together and say hi to you guys. Everything really busy, but you know what? This is always a much needed break. It doesn't matter how much chaos is going on behind the scenes. We can leave it all behind. Come here, listen to our live studio audience chirping away at us. The sun's coming in, so we changed the board. See, we're trying to adapt. But no, I hope everybody's having a good Thursday. It's going to be warm. It's going to be sunny. Things are going to be good. So we're going to finish off this week about waking up our garden, helping our garden wake up. And then yesterday we talked about soils, the difference in the layers of soils. And now we're going to talk about what we add to the soil and why we add it. So what we already said is we all know in the winter, or in the spring, sorry, I should say, after the winter, when we go to our garden, a lot of times our soil is flat. It's not, I shouldn't have used this color because it's not even a healthy brown. It's almost like got that gray sheen on it, even where there hasn't been any salt or anything. And it's just compact, compressed. It doesn't look awesome. And there's a couple of reasons for that, not least of which is the heavy snow, and then we have the ice underneath. That ice, as you know, when things get cold, they contract. So that's pulled all the moisture and it's frozen it. So now the soil is pulled down on itself. It's had the weight from above. Then when it melts, all of this water runs in, so it makes it waterlogged and saturated, which causes it to get that bogged down look. And then the other thing is that there's no active growth. So our plants aren't up and are growing like little mounds at best. And because of that, because there's no activity, no roots are growing, nothing's happening, and all of our earthworm friends and all of their buddies are just kind of frozen. They're in hibernation. They're just kind of like, it's cold, freeze. And they're hanging out under the soil. So there's no natural activity. Now, again, if we go down all the way down to our other layers, so the bedrock, the parent layer, subsoil, topsoil, all the way down, once we're into that middle layer, the subsoil, it hasn't frozen that far down, but also you're so far away from the light and the warmth, even in the height of summer, of the surface temperature. All the activity there is just the natural ground moving. So there's not a whole heck of a lot happening here that's pushing it up. A lot of times the activity happens on the top, us turning the soil, the organisms growing, the roots pushing down, that causes it to shift. This starts coming down, this moves up, and that's how the cycle kind of works. So what are we going to do to bring life back to our soil? Because you can get out there with a cultivator, and when I say cultivator, I simply mean long handle with 3 claws at the end, or you can use a garden hoe. Some people use a rake, some people use a garden fork, a shovel, something to turn the soil. Cultivating, all that means is turning the soil. So you go out there and you turn that soil, and you'll break it up, absolutely. And then you look at it, it still doesn't have that really lush color that we associate with soil. It doesn't have that, you know, that deep brown where it's all broken up and the aggregates are there. It still kind of has that inert, I don't want to say dead look. And that's why a lot of times people come to me in the spring and they go, you know, especially rookie gardeners or people who've just bought a house, and they'll say, do I need to dig all of my soil out and put fresh soil in? No, not at all. You just need to freshen it up. You just need to bring it back. And the way we do that is, again, we use our cultivator and we're going to add organic material. Now, in this sense, I'm not saying organic as in, organic, it's clean, there's nothing added. I'm saying organic as in compost, peat moss, something like that, something natural. What we're trying to replicate, if you remember. So anybody who's familiar with going into the forest, the next time you're in the forest, I recommend you do this. So there's our forest floor, all of our trees are growing. Scoop that top layer of soil. Scoop it up into your hand. It's light, it's fluffy, there's leaves in it, there's branches in it. You'll probably get a bug or two running across your hand. Ants, spiders, centipede. Even if you don't see them, there's thousands of living things in that handful, but it's loose. It always kind of feels cool and damp. And that is the humic layer. That's the humus. And that's what we're trying to replicate in our soil. Because much like in nature, as the trees grow and their roots are there, well, we all know the purpose of roots, it's twofold. It's to take moisture up to the leaves to undergo photosynthesis, but the other purpose of them as well is to take the nutrients. That's why when we fertilize, we don't fertilize the leaves, we fertilize the soil. We add the nutrition that goes into the soil. The roots help break it down, and then they suck it up and they push it up so the nitrogen goes up into the leaves, gets better leaf growth, more photosynthesis, goes back down to the roots. So what happens in a forest is this layer here, the leaves, the needles, the branches, the bug poop, the worm poop, bird poop, all of that is getting mixed in constantly. There's animals eating the leaves. There's bacteria and fungus, mushrooms, and everything is growing together and breaking it down. And then underground, this is all becoming a really, really rich mineralized soil. We're not doing that. We're cleaning that away. So now we need to artificially put that back in because we want to keep our gardens clean. And I get it. Have you ever been out in the forest and you've seen the trees and they've got black knot or they've got powdery mildew or whatever else? That's because there's no control in that. We like our gardens clean. We like them ornate. We like the aesthetic appeal of them. So what we need to do now is we need to add to this layer. So some things we can add, and we'll go over them really quick. Okay, one of the most popular ones is peat moss. Okay, and a very similar one is Coco Coir. Okay, peat moss and Coco Coir. Peat moss, it's a natural thing. We take it out of peat bogs, dry it, process it. It's what was in our growing mix from yesterday. Coco Coir is just smashed up coconut husks, shredded, ripped apart, put together. These are great. They're not a plant food. They are not a fertilizer. They're not a compost. They're relatively neutral. They go in and they are going to loosen the soil. They're going to help break the clay. They're going to allow that excellent gas exchange. They're going to make life easier for the roots to get through. They're going to make life easier for the earthworms and whatnot to get through. So what this is going to do is it's going to break up that surface tension. It's going to help with moisture retention, and it's really going to stop things from clumping together. And it's going to help aerate at the same time, adding organic material. By the way, this apron doesn't fit properly, but it's Throwback Thursday. How can you be grumpy in a Throwback Thursday apron? I always think of it because it falls off my shoulders.
That was so delayed.
Yeah, I have to stand like this.
Oh my God.
So these two are great to add. They're not really going to replenish anything because, like I said, all of that stuff that's growing down, the trees and the ferns and the mushrooms and everything else, it is pulling nutrition and minerals out the soil, much like in our garden. Our tomatoes, perennials even, the weeds, if we don't get to them, they're all leaching out minerals. So they're making our soil depleted, and that's why we're adding this. Another popular one of my favorites is worm castings. And all that is worm poop.
Yum.
There we go. Well, what do worms eat? They eat soil. What do they poop out? Better soil. So that's literally what worms do. They go through and they're like scrunch, 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 poop, 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 and they're pooping out better soil full of nutrition. One of the best things you can add, a little bit goes a long way. If you want to put that in, a lot of people use it for their house plants or put it in planters. And we find tons of worms in the forest. Go dig through, you're like, oh, I got worms, because again, dew worms, we don't necessarily like them. They leave hillocks everywhere. Nobody's getting rid of them in the forest. They're doing great, and they're creating that environment. Another one that we can add is, I'm trying to use different colors for different things here, is compost. Okay, and compost is great. Compost is probably as close as you're going to get to replicating the humus layer, because all compost is broken down organic material. So we have a compost sea soil, amazing compost. It's made from forestry finds and fish leftovers. Okay, there's no smell, you can't smell anything to it. It is incredible, because that's something we have to mention as well in the forest, and I didn't bring this up. Very sad, but animals die in the forest. They break down and they feed the soil too. I'm pretty sure they touched on that in The Lion King. I'm not about to sing Circle of Life. Was that a song?
What?
Was Circle of Life a song?
Oh yeah, the circle.
Brandy will sing it for us.
Yeah,
I'm not going to sing it. But that's literally what it is. So a compost, a green compost, this is as close as you're going to get to replicating that that humic layer. And then the other one, random color, I guess we're going blue, is manure. Okay, and manure is very simply cow, sheep, or horse poop. We do not use pig. People ask about that. Pig is an omnivore, which means they may also eat meat. It's not great to put that into your garden. You want to use a herbivore. So cow, horse, sheep are all great composts. Most of the two that you'll find are sheep and cow, and that is amazing. Very rich. Again, they've eaten grass and grains and whatnot, chumped it all up in their stomach, pooped it out. We then compost the manure. You don't want to use the raw manure. It's stinky, it's gross, and it's very high in nitrogen, so it'll cause root burn, fertilizer root burn. But that is an amazing one to add in as well. And then one more, and there are other things you can add as well. There's charcoal, there's green sand, there's sand, all the things you can add. But I think the next most important one is volcanic rock. And oops. Now, if you think about a volcanic island, Hawaii, I wish I was looking at Hawaii.
Yeah, me too.
Ice cream in Hawaii. Anyway, I digress. You think of an island like Hawaii, or some of the South Pacific islands that were formed by volcanoes. The tropical, the jungles, how lush it is ridiculous. And it's because of that massive amount of minerals in the soil that feed the plants and allow them to get so big. And that is a great one to add, because none of these are going to add minerals. However, you add the volcanic rock, you're going to add minerals, but you're not adding any organic material. So playing around with a combination, and I'll tell you quick, my favorite combination, you guys can all do your own, but my favorite combination, volcanic rock, compost, worm castings, Coco Coir. Those four are my big four. I put them in all of the time, and I might even do a mid-season edition. But honestly, as long as you're putting something in to try and replicate and replenish what is being pulled out of the soil, that's what's going to do you the best. So that kills it for today. I'm literally out of time. There's more we could talk about, but come on in and ask us, DM us if you have any questions, want to help you guys out. And we'll see you tomorrow. Hey, we brought up Hawaii and its wine show.
Oh, foreshadowing.
Exactly. Whoosh, that's where we are. I hope you picked up on that. That was a test. It wasn't a test. Okay. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everyone.